Supreme Court wraps Rahul Gandhi over 2020 Galwan clash remarks. As if you're a true Indian, you wouldn't have said it. As top court comes down heavily on Rahul Gandhi, union ministers criticize the Congress MP and leader of opposition. Not only call his statements irresponsible, also claim he is a liability as an LOP. It's proven beyond doubt that Pakistani terrorists were behind the Pahalgam attack. CNN News18 accesses testimonies and Pakistan government issued IDs to prove link. Our top focus is the historic thriller, the win that India has just scored a few minutes ago against England at the Oval. This was the fifth match in the series. The series has now been levelled to all, and all thanks to what we saw on day 5. Many saw this as a miracle. Until yesterday, no one would have thought this was even possible. But Mohammed Siraj picked up 5 wickets to help India to that famous 6-run win at the Oval. In addition to Siraj, Prasidh Krishna also chipped in with his 4 wickets. Indian pacers rose to the occasion. They bundled out England for 367 to win the 5th and the final test by 6 runs. It was a thrilling end to this test series that was fought well. India pacers took final 4 wickets. Mohammed Siraj, who led the attack in the absence of Jasprit Bumrah, he cleaned up Atkinson, and that was it. That was the moment when he and the world knew that this newly christened trophy is going to be retained by India. Now, this has been a series to remember, of course, for the entire team, but specifically for Mohammed Siraj, because for him, it is a full circle. He was dismissed in the 3rd test, as a result of which England went 2-1 ahead in the series. But today, it is a moment of redemption for him, so to say, emerging as a hero at Oval. It was a tightly played match. Physical limits, emotional limits of both teams were tested. Many would say we've had physical issues, injury issues on both sides, especially when we saw Chris Woakes walk onto that field with his arm tightly tied to his chest, playing with just one hand. And Shivani now joins us, getting us more perspective on this as well. Shivani, that's what we were been discussing. You know, of course, it is a moment to cherish for India, but the kind of limits physically, emotionally that have been pushed for both teams, that's something to remember as well.
Yes, it has been a very hard-fought series. Both teams, you know, very much on the same level playing field. Of course, England would always have an advantage of a series in England, but I think some of those advantages were blunted as far as this series were concerned. But not to take any credit away from the Indian team. The Indian team was also going there in a transitional period under a new captain. Most of the squad had never played a test match in England. So they didn't have a lot of, experience to draw on. And so, usually what happens is, in past series that we have covered as well, we have suffered whitewashes, 4-0 whitewashes in England. And that's a time when we had some of the great stalwarts of Indian batting playing in England. But the problem sometimes that happens is when you play in England or in Australia, in Senna countries, is that by the time you get used to these conditions, the series is almost more than half done, and then you're always chasing the 8th ball. But I think in this test series, what we've noticed is that from the very first day and the very first session, India was, level with the England team. They also had their own issues. The home team also had their own issues. They weren't starting with their best lineups in most of these matches. So both teams had their injury concerns, unavailability concerns, and both had young blood. But I think eventually, I would say that with a 2-all draw that we have, if you looked at session by session, I think the Indian team did maybe slightly, ever so slightly better than the English side here.
Yeah, because from what we're seeing, Shivani, I mean, most people would say neither team deserved to lose, at least this particular game, because that's exactly how it went. But, I mean, isn't that how cricket and sports is? You truly don't perhaps get what you deserve. That's what at least England would think today.
Well, I always feel there's nothing called what you deserve in sports. Whoever wins, wins. There is nothing called whoever, deserved to win or didn't deserve to lose. There are very few matches where you could say that neither side deserved to lose. But yes, as far as this test series is concerned, I think, yes, the 2-all scoreline definitely kind of shows you how equal both sides were and how great the performances from both the sides were. For India, there are a lot of pluses as far as this series is concerned. They've had a few setbacks, especially overseas. India always has this issue where every team and a new composition has to prove itself whether it's going to be as big a tiger overseas and not just at home. Because certainly on our tracks, very few teams around the world manage to give us any competition. But this is why series in England, Australia and other countries is so important for us to show our mettle. And I think from Shubman Gill to Rishabh Pant to Yashasvi Jaiswal to KL Rahul to Ravindra Jadeja, there are just so many pluses for India, both from the old guard and the new guard and everything in between. But yes, from the bowling side, I think that was always going to be our weakness, not so much the batting lineup, because it has so much talent. And, overall they play, let's say in other tournaments like the IPL against the world's best bowlers. So they have a fair bit of an idea. But the bowling was the one that was always under the gun. We have a lot of combinations available to us. Sometimes we don't quite know exactly what is in the mind of the team management, which way do they want to go. For a very long time, we haven't seen a settled bowling attack or a bowling lineup in Indian Test cricket. We haven't really seen an era where, the 2-3 bowlers are consistently playing and others are playing a supportive role. So Jadeja is actually the only one who played in 2014 and has played in this series as well. The last time all five, Cheteshwar Pujara, Jadeja, Rohit, Rahul, Rohit, Virat and Ashwin played a test match in England. So a lot has changed. But I think the bowling department has also shown that they have the heart to give, and I think that is what both Siraj and Prasidh Krishna did in this match, and certainly a credit to them. And Mohammed Siraj, we always wonder why he's not featuring in more matches than he should. But I think he's once again made a case for the fact that he is here to stay.
Absolutely. Shivani, thank you so much for getting us that perspective. Rajiv also joins us. He's been at the Oval tracking what has been transpiring there. और राजीव, जीत की बात तो कर ही रहे हैं, but पूरा जो ये सिलसिला रहा है इस सीरीज का, स्पेशली इस मैच का, कहा यह भी जा रहा था कि ओवल में जो जज्बा था ऑडियंस की तरफ से, ऐसा लग नहीं रहा था कि इंडिया इंग्लैंड में खेल रही है. ऐसा कई लोगों ने कहा, ऐसा लग रहा था कि शायद हम वानखेड़े में मैच देख रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल. और आज जो आधे घंटे का खेल हुआ है उसमें अगर आप स्टेडियम में होती तो आपको अंदाजा लगता है कि वाकई जो कुछ आप सुन रही हैं वहाँ पे नोएडा में वो बिल्कुल ठीक है. क्योंकि जब मैं बाहर आ रहा था शो के लिए तो इतना जबरदस्त तरीके से शोर हुआ. जब आखिरी विकेट गिरा है तो अंदाजा स्टेडियम के गेट पे लग गया था कि क्या कुछ हुआ है अंदर. और भारत ने वो मैच 6 रन से जीता. और देखिए जो फैंस का रोल रहा है, कल मैंने एक वीडियो भी किया था, करीब 10-12 फैंस हैं जिन्होंने मोटिवेट किया था. क्योंकि एक सेशन ऐसा आया था मैच में जहाँ पे हैरी ब्रूक और रूट के बीच में एक बड़ी साझेदारी हो रही थी और शोल्डर्स डाउन हो गए थे भारतीय गेंदबाजों के भी, भारतीय कप्तान के भी, और फील्डिंग भी पूरी तरह से बिखर गई थी. लेकिन वो एक पर्टिकुलर स्टैंड है प्रेस बॉक्स के पास, वहां पे करीब 15-20 जो दर्शक हैं वो बैठे हुए थे और उन्होंने
We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Rajiv, who's getting us the mood and feel from the Oval. He's been tracking the entire series. But sports journalist Ayaj Memon also joining us. Thank you so much for speaking with us and staying on with us as we're discussing this thriller that we just saw. Team India win against England, levelling that series, retaining the newly christened Anderson-Tendulkar Trophy as well. But until yesterday, nobody would have thought this was possible. Would you agree?
In the last, dying stages of yesterday's play, I thought India made a remarkable comeback, getting those 2 or 3 wickets. So, while 4 wickets to take 37 runs to get, you would have said that England started favourites on the last day. But I thought the self-belief in India that they could win this match was sparked off last evening. And then, of course, they bowled superbly this morning again. All in all, I think, the ability to absorb the pressure, hold your nerve, and then deliver those great deliveries to get the wickets, that's what really counts when you have to win the matches. So I think, and despite a catch being dropped today, they didn't lose their nerve, they didn't lose their cool. I think that showed the intensity and the commitment of the Indian team.
And do you think that also goes on to speak of the kind of patience, if you will, or the kind of learnings that a young team has shown? I mean, the kind of pressure you would feel under at that particular time to hold your nerve for a team that's been this young. Is that something that should be highlighted perhaps?
Absolutely. Look, I think overall it's been a fantastic performance. It's not that we don't have seasoned players in the mix there. There's KL Rahul, there's Ravindra Jadeja, who've been part of the Indian team for almost a decade. So they've been there, but they've got a bunch of young players several of them, in fact, and many of them on their first trip to England. They've got a new captain, a young captain, not experienced at all. This is his first series as captain. We've had a series of a couple of major setbacks in the previous two series. We've lost there. There's a coach under harsh scrutiny, under fire, Gautam Gambhir, and then we lost the first Test match of the series. To come back from there and what's transpired is, as your slug says, it's been an epic victory. And the epic word defines everything, that all the attributes that have gone into making this one of the most memorable cricketing contests that perhaps the game has ever seen in its history. So it's been a spectacular performance, all said and done.
Absolutely, and this series has seen its fair share of ebbs and flows. Rajiv is back with us, I believe, and there are a lot of people still outside the oval there. We can see people waiting around. We can see people waving to our cameras as well. But Rajiv, आपने पूरी सीरीज देखी है. आपको क्या लगता है किस मैच से क्या बदला? What was the takeaways for what we could learn from the matches that we lost?
देखिए, सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो टेस्ट मैच था वो एजबेस्टन टेस्ट मैच था, क्योंकि लीड्स टेस्ट मैच हम हार गए थे और उसके बाद जब एजबेस्टन पहुंचे तो सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क ये था कि एजबेस्टन में इससे पहले हिस्ट्री में हम कभी कोई टेस्ट मैच जीते नहीं थे। और शुभमन गिल से जब ये सवाल पूछा गया तो उन्होंने बड़े ही कॉन्फिडेंट तरीके से जवाब दिया कि मुझे पहले तो पता नहीं, लेकिन हम यहाँ हिस्ट्री क्रिएट करने आए। और वो जो लाइन है अभी तक मेरे जहन में है, क्योंकि प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में आके ये कहना कि हम हिस्ट्री क्रिएट कर रहे हैं और जब मैच जीते तो वापस वो उससे इंग्लिश जर्नलिस्ट को वो ढूंढ रहे थे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में, जिन्होंने उनसे सवाल किया था कि आप एजबेस्टन में कभी जीते नहीं है तो आप क्या करने जा रहे हैं। तो ये सबसे बड़ा टर्निंग पॉइंट था मेरे लिए कि एजबेस्टन में जाके टेस्ट मैच जीतना, जहां पर हमने कभी जीता नहीं था हिस्ट्री में, वहां से एक टर्न अराउंड होता है। फिर अगर आप लॉर्ड्स टेस्ट मैच याद करें, बहुत क्लोज इनकाउंटर में हम वो मुकाबला हार जाते हैं, लेकिन वहां से हमारे शोल्डर्स डाउन नहीं होते। जब हम मैनचेस्टर पहुंचते हैं तो वहां पे एक ऐसा टेस्ट मैच ड्रॉ करते हैं जो ऑलमोस्ट लग रहा था हाथ से हमारे निकल गया है, जहाँ पे हमारे 0 पे 2 विकेट हो गए। उसके बाद पहले शुभमन गिल और के राहुल की शानदार बल्लेबाजी, फिर रविंद्र जडेजा और वॉशी सुंदर ने उस टेस्ट मैच को ड्रॉ कराया। फिर अब ओवल टेस्ट मैच हम सब ने देखा कि पहली पारी में कोलैप्स हुआ, लेकिन सेकंड इनिंग्स में जिस तरह से हमने कंबाइंड एफर्ट पहले बल्लेबाजी में किया और उसके बाद बॉलिंग में, तो हम सब देख ही रहे हैं, मैन ऑफ द सीरीज मैच बन चुके हैं मोहम्मद सिराज। तो ये जो सिनेरियो बना उस कहते हैं ना, जो केंद्र बिंदु था, सेंटर ऑफ अट्रैक्शन था, वो था जब हमने एजबेस्टन टेस्ट मैच जीता। और वहां से इंग्लैंड को ये समझ आ गया कि ये जो यंग टीम है ये पीछे मुड़ के नहीं देखेगी, उन्होंने गलती क्या की, बल्कि आगे के लिए प्लान करेंगे कि आपको कैसे डोमिनेट करें। और उसका पहला जो संकेत था वो एजबेस्टन के मैदान पर इंग्लिश टीम को मिल गया था।
जी बिल्कुल, बने रहिए हमारे साथ। We're also taking your calls live here on this broadcast. The numbers are flashing at the bottom of your screens. Do call in, do tell us what your favorite moments were from not just this particular match, but also from the entire series, the newly christened Tendulkar Anderson Trophy, which India has retained. Ayaz Memon also continues to be with us, but I want our viewers to also listen in to Monty Panesar and what he had to say about this thriller.
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा। आई थिंक इंडिया ने बड़ी अच्छी तरह से वो जो जो रूट हैरी ब्रुक की पार्टनरशिप थी, मैं भी इंडिया का सोच ये थी, मैं भी उम्मीद है अभी नहीं हम जीत पाएंगे, बट सुबह से जो ओवरकास्ट कंडीशंस थे एंड लाइन लेंथ बड़ी अच्छी तरह से गेंदबाजी डाली थी। सो आई थिंक कंग्रेचुलेशंस टू इंडिया। इंडिया ने एक जो टर्न अराउंड परफॉर्मेंस दिखा दिया एंड आई थिंक फ्यूचर में क्या है ना, जो एक्साइटमेंट मिल रहा है सबको इंडिया इंग्लैंड की टेस्ट सीरीज, आई थिंक 5 टेस्ट सीरीज ये रेगुलर फीचर हम देखेंगे इंडिया इंग्लैंड इंडिया की 5 टेस्ट सीरीज।
As Mohammed, as far as the England's psyche, so to say, on day 5 was concerned, do you think they did see this coming? Perhaps that India did have a very good chance of turning this around. Is that why Chris Woakes and the team decided that he would come out on the field with a sling on his shoulder despite a dislocated one?
I mean, it was a desperate measure. It was, because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose the match. So anything that helps you win the match, they would go ahead and do it. I think they sensed clearly that it won't be easy, despite the partnership, 195 runs partnership between Brook and Brook. After that partnership was broken, and you could say a rush of blood that Brook cost Brook his wicket. But from thereafter, the way India came back into the match, and remember, right through the series, whenever it seemed that India were outplayed or overwhelmed, they've come back. They've come back into the match. And England wouldn't have taken India lightly at all. And especially after the series in the future, none of these English players are going to take these Indian players lightly. So wherever they play, wherever they meet.
Absolutely, and that's really the sentiment that they should have going forward. But we have our viewers calling in as well. Jaya, in fact, is calling us from Mumbai. Jaya, were you on the edge of your seat as well when that thriller was on?
Of course, we all feel we're on top of the world because this is what the team has done for us. The entire team did its best. And to add the icing on the cake, I think, is the youngest captain's brilliant captaincy. It requires laurels, of course, and the batting and the catches all together have done at least equal the wins, and so we have drawn the series. That matters a lot for us, and congratulations. And as I would like to say the cliche, Dil Mange More, let's hope that the team continues to shine under the captaincy in all the tests to come.
We do hope that as well. Jaya, thank you so much for calling in. Our numbers are flashing at the bottom of your screens. You can call us, you can share your views, you can give your congratulations to Team India as they celebrate that win. And every Indian across the globe that is taking in that moment, as we see even an hour later, they still talk about how India has clinched this thriller at the Oval. We're going to be talking about this perhaps for the next 24 to 48 hours because that's the kind of traction, really, if you say, that it needs. But Rajiv and Ayaz Memon continue to be with us. And Ayaz, I want to ask you about Bumrah. You know, he's coming in and out of the series. Do you think that somewhere did sort of help the England side? This series could have gone another way had we not had the troubles with Bumrah that he had with his injuries?
I mean, if Bumrah is not playing, there's obviously so much psychological relief for the opposition. So, whenever he's playing, the opposition is under pressure, under duress. And if he's not playing, they'll breathe a little easy. That's why I think this old test match victory is so remarkable because there was no Bumrah and there was no Rishabh Pant. Two stellar players for India. And despite that, India have gone on to win this match. Thanks largely to Siraj, who's had an outstanding match. Prasidh Krishna, just a step behind, if not in step with Siraj. And of course, don't forget, also, look, when you look at the, how the series has unraveled, you'll find that some player or the other has come up with a contribution that has made a big difference. So in the last match, you had Yashasvi Jaiswal, who started with a century in the first test match, hadn't done much for 3 test matches, comes back or finishes the series with a century. And that gives India the buffer or the score to defend. Otherwise, you could have lost this match far easier. So I think that, Bumrah, it's a bit of a complicated issue, complex issue for India to, how to manage Bumrah's workload issue and with the series commitments that are there.
And it's a long-term issue that we really have to think about and figure out what the solution for that would be. Sorry to interrupt you there. I'll come back to you. But Ben Stokes is, I believe, addressing the media. We'll just cut across.
Yeah, recording about excellent. We've got England captain Ben Stokes going to go to James Coldplay.
Ben, a dramatic finish to an incredible series. How do you sum it all up and your emotions at the end there?
I think the series as a whole, even before this game, it was just all 4 games going to 5 days. This one again, and it's been toe to toe pretty much for 25 days. 2 very good teams who have thrown everything at each other, left nothing out there. So I guess from a cricket fan's point of view, you sort of go 2-2 is probably fair. Obviously we're disappointed now to have not got the result that we wanted to give us a series win. So there's obviously that disappointment, a little bit of frustration there as well from everyone. But yeah, I think as a massive advocate of this format and Test cricket as a whole, this has certainly been one of those series that can hopefully keep that narrative around Test cricket is dying. And disappointed from obviously a playing point of view, but as a advocate of the game, the series has been fantastic to be part of.
With Root and Brook batting yesterday, did you think you were going to get over the line? And what did you make of the nature of Brook's dismissal?
Yeah, look, obviously 380 is obviously a very large total to try and chase down. But as the game got deeper and deeper, the way that the wicket was playing completely changed from days 1 and days 2. So we knew that if any of our lads were to get in, then that was going to give us a good chance. Harry got us into that position by playing in a particular way, putting the Indian bowlers under immense pressure to take them away from being able to consistently bowl the areas that they wanted to bowl. I'm sure everyone was applauding him when he brought up his 100 in the way that he did. Some of the shots he played were unbelievable. So yeah, the dismissal and the way that he got out was a shot that we've seen a lot of him do in that innings, which I'm sure was getting a lot of praise. So yeah.
Do you feel a stronger team off the back of this series as you look ahead to the Ashes? Have there been key lessons learned across this series from your point of view?
No, I think we were in a nice strong place coming into the series. I think from a team point of view, and certainly as an individual point of view, some guys will leave the series found out a lot more about themselves. In particular this game, with Chris Woakes going down early on with that unfortunate shoulder injury, then the responsibility and that fell on Gus, Tungi and Jamie's shoulders. Not only that, but obviously the roles completely changed by then as to why they were selected and the impact that we thought they would have on the game. They had to dig deep, in particular in our second innings of bowling. So look, I think there's a couple guys who've left the series when they've been given the opportunities that they found out a lot more about themselves in a very, very positive way.
And on Chris Woakes, you mentioned his bravery.
Rajiv continues to be with us. He's been reporting for us from England throughout the series. He's at the Oval where celebrations are still continuing, is what we're learning. Rajiv, क्या अभी भी माहौल वैसा ही है जैसे 1 घंटे पहले तक था? क्या अभी भी दर्शक इंडियंस जो काफ़ी दूर से आए हैं इंग्लैंड से, इंग्लैंड के बाहर से भी काफ़ी लोग आए थे मैच देखने के लिए, क्या वो अभी वही हैं? We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Rajiv there. He's been reporting, like I said, getting us the mood and feel from on ground. But this is a series that India has now levelled. Many would say that Mohammed Siraj has gone from being a possible villain to the hero of this Oval Test. It was a nail-biting finish, one that would keep you at the edge of your seats. The turning point really came in the second half yesterday when many saw that India would still have a fighting chance. And then this morning, a cloudy, gloomy day at the Oval, but not for India, because that's how that match was turned around. And of course, the series was levelled by India. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on Nation at 5. But for now, it's time for a quick break.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The proceedings in the criminal defamation case against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi over the remarks made by him about the Indian Army in the context of the 2020 Galwan rally clash with China. Now, even though interim relief was granted during the hearing, the bench made oral remarks expressing disapproval of Rahul's remarks. All right. So remember, there was in fact a statement that was made by Rahul Gandhi, and that was in fact a defamation case was filed against him. And now the case has reached Supreme Court, where it has stayed the proceedings in the criminal defamation case against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi over the remark that he had in fact made about the Indian Army in the context of the 2020 Galwan Valley clash with China. Now, even though interim relief was granted to Rahul Gandhi during the hearing, the bench has made oral remark expressing disapproval of the remarks made by Rahul Gandhi at this point. All right, I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Ananya Bhatnagar. Ananya, take us through the observations that were made by Supreme Court on this case.
Well, definitely the Supreme Court came down heavily on Rahul Gandhi, completely criticizing the kind of statements that he made, going as far as to say that, a true Indian won't make such kind of statements. The top court also questioned Rahul Gandhi as to why, if at all he had certain doubts, why did he not ask the same question in the parliament by a proper way? You being a leader of the opposition, why would you say all these things is what the topmost of the country very well went on to say? It also said that why will you not ask these questions in the parliament was a pointed question from, in fact, the topmost of the country to, in fact, Rahul Gandhi. They said that how did you know about the 2,000 kilometers being annexed by the Chinese? If you're a true Indian, you wouldn't say that, is what the top court had to say. However, a stay has been granted on the trial court proceedings as far as this case is concerned, but there have been in fact, a certain criticism that is coming from the topmost of the country as far as the leader of opposition is concerned.
But what about the status in the case? What about, because when we talk about the entire case, the case was taken up in the Lucknow court as well. And now when the matter has reached Supreme Court, who is the petitioner in the case? What exactly is the status as far as Rahul Gandhi's such remarks are concerned?
It is in fact a petition that has been filed by Rahul Gandhi himself, who was seeking a stay on the trial court proceedings. He has approached, in fact, the top court. The court also questioned as to why did he not raise these grounds before. In fact, the High Court, however, senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi was appearing for Mr. Rahul Gandhi, very categorically stated that, the High Court felt that he is not the but somebody who has defamed the Indian Army personnel. And that is something, that made Rahul Gandhi approach the top court of the country. And finally, now a stay has been granted by the Supreme Court. However, much criticism coming in as far as the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha is concerned.
All right, I request you, Ananya, to please stay with us as I'm now joined by BJP leader Shehzad Poonawalla on this broadcast. Many thanks, Mr. Shehzad Poonawalla, for joining with us. Your reaction to how Supreme Court has come down heavily on Rahul Gandhi for making remarks against the army personnel.
If Rahul Gandhi has any shame left, he should quit his position as LOP, because the Supreme Court has made a stinging indictment of the unfounded and unsubstantiated propaganda and Pakistani language that he speaks. When the court says that what proof you have that the Chinese have occupied territory and no Indian would speak like this, it, I think, is a reflection of what kind of propaganda Rahul spreads. And this is not the first time, whether it is Operation Sindoor being called surrender, whether it is surgical...
Thank you so much for staying with us. The Supreme Court came down heavily today on Rahul Gandhi over his remarks on the Indian Army back in 2020 over the Galwan clash. The Supreme Court said, and I quote, "If you were a true Indian, you wouldn't have said what you said." The rebuke for Rahul Gandhi came over his claim that Chinese had occupied Indian territory. However, the top court did grant relief to the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha by staying proceedings against him in this criminal defamation case. The BJP, though, has escalated the attack on Rahul Gandhi, calling him a certified anti-national. In fact, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju slammed Rahul Gandhi, saying that this kind of statement is extremely harmful for the nation and demoralizes our forces.
But he doesn't listen to us. I'm very happy that at least Supreme Court has now given him a warning. It's a straightforward rebuke that as an Indian, Shri Rahul Gandhi should not speak like that. This is a very strong statement. How can an Indian speak against the interests of India? This is something, a lesson for all those who are Indian by status and citizenship, but keep on demonizing Indian institution and our Indian interests all the time. So I feel that this kind of a strong observation from the Honorable Supreme Court is very befitting and timely.
The देखिए, क्या कहा क्या नहीं कहा मुझे नहीं मालूम है पूरी तरह, इसलिए मैं इस पर कोई प्रतिक्रिया तब तक नहीं दूंगा। जहां तक सवाल है राहुल गांधी का, आज अगर सबसे निर्भीक, निडर, साहसी आवाज मोदी सरकार के खिलाफ कुछ उठ रही है तो उसका नाम है राहुल गांधी। तो हमें गर्व है अपने नेता पे, जो भी देश हित में, जनहित में है वो उठा रहे हैं।
जब ये टिप्पणी आई है तो एक सवाल उठता है, डज इंडिया, डज भारत डिजर्व अ मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबल, अ बेटर लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन? और इससे पहले भी किस तरह से झूठ भी बोला है, गैर जिम्मेदार बयान भी दिए हैं और सेना का मनोबल तोड़ने वाले बयान भी दिए हैं, यह आपके समक्ष मैंने रखा। यह बेहद ही चिंताजनक है। राहुल गांधी ने यह प्रण लिया है कि वो भारत को कमजोर करेंगे, चीन को मजबूत करेंगे, और इसीलिए चाहे डोकलाम हो चाहे गलवान हो, हर भारतीय भारत के साथ खड़ा था, भारत की वीर सेना के साथ खड़ा था।
Ananya, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective. Ananya, some scathing observations came to the fore from the Supreme Court, but legally speaking, there is relief for Rahul Gandhi, isn't it? Because the proceedings have been stayed.
Well, Poonam, it is in fact a relief that is coming for Rahul Gandhi, but at what cost? He is being, in fact, cashed for his statements that he has made on China, on the kind of the 2020 Galwan operations of, in fact, the Indian Army, very categorically saying that where did he get the information from as far as this 2,000 kilometers of land being under the Chinese control. Not only that, the Supreme Court also rebuked him as to why did he not ask these questions in the Parliament, and has come out on, in fact, social media to ask certain questions. In fact, going as far as to say this bench of the division bench of the Supreme Court going on to say that, had he been a true Indian, he would not have made these comments. And these are the comments that come in against Rahul Gandhi from, in fact, the topmost court of the country. That too against, in fact, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha being questioned as to if had it been, a true Indian, he would not have said these words.
Right, and that has only armed the Congress's and Rahul Gandhi's political rivals. Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Let's listen into some more reactions.
पहले इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने राहुल गांधी को फटकार लगाई थी, जो बयान उन्होंने सेना को लेकर किया था कि हमारे सेना और सैनिकों की चाइना के द्वारा पिटाई हो रही थी। अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने राहुल गांधी को सरेआम लथाड़ा है, कहा है कि तुम्हें कैसे पता कि चाइना ने हमारी जमीन कब्जा ली है, अगर आप भारतीय होते तो ऐसी बात नहीं करते, बिना तथ्य बिना प्रमाण के। और अब भी देखिए ना, ये जो मानसिकता है, सड़क का गुंडा, सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक को खून की दलाली, बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक पर सवाल खड़े करना, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को भी फेलियर, तमाशा, छुटपुट, सरेंडर, ये सब कहना। इसीलिए आज सेना के ऊपर, जो सनातन पे ऊपर, जो संविधान के ऊपर लगातार हमला कर रहे राहुल गांधी, उसके लिए देश की जनता भी और कोर्ट भी उन्हें फटकार लगा रही है।
Shifting focus now, the Pahalgam truth is finally out. CNN News 18 has accessed an exclusive detailed report that exposes Pakistan's direct involvement in the deadly Pahalgam terror attack. The investigation confirms that all three attackers were Pakistani nationals, senior commanders of the terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba. They were trained and armed across the border. This report identifies Suleiman Shah, alias Faisal Jatt, as the LEG commander who masterminded and led the operation or the attack on innocent civilians on the 22nd of April. Their movements and links to Pakistan are now irrefutably established through GPS tracking to DNA analysis and forensic tests. Intercepted communications have only corroborated that claim. Recovered evidence includes Pakistani voter ID cards and several biometric chips, even chocolates that are traced to a consignment in Karachi. Let's now take you through the faces of the butchers of Pahalgam, who these people are and how India has identified that they indeed were trained Pakistani nationals turned terrorists who unleashed that terror on April 22nd. Suleiman Shah is the first one. He's known by his operation code or alias Faisal Jatt. He's an A++ commander of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, is what we are learning from our sources, and that he was the brains behind the Pahalgam attack. Next is Abu Hamza, Operation codename Afghan, a commander of the LET. He was identified as the second terrorist that was involved in the deadly attack on innocent civilians in Pahalgam. And the third terrorist of the Lashkar-e-Toiba who unleashed this terror was called Yasir. His code name was Gibran. He was also a commander of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, and he was the third terrorist that was involved in the attack and has now been eliminated by India. So how exactly did these terrorists plan this attack and then execute it? How did they even get to Pahalgam, to the Baisaran Valley where the attack took place? This is what we've learned from our sources, that May 2022 is when this infiltration route was tracked via radio signals. It was intercepted, that there were signals that were crossed over near the LOC. This happened near the Gurez sector. Cut across 3 years later, 2025 this year, terrorists sheltered in seasonal huts near Pahalgam were found. There were Parvez and Bashir Ahmed who sheltered these three terrorists. They were arrested, they were detained and questioned by the agencies. Based on their interrogation is how these three were tracked. There was GPS data from the attackers' device that was also then tracked. Call logs were made from a Chinese satellite phone. It established where and how these terrorists were moving. That also established linkages to the operational control in Pakistan, that these guys, these terrorists, were merely puppets in the hands of their masters sitting across the border. Forensic analysis, there was a ballistic match as well that was conducted by the agencies here in India. The shell casings and a AK-103 rifle that was recovered, all of which were then matched based on the shell casings that were found on April 22nd after the Pahalgam attack. The DNA of these slain terrorists were also then matched with blood traces from the attack site, and that's how they zeroed in on these three. Their movements were then tracked and then they were eliminated. Ishan, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Ishan, over the course of the last 2 months, we've had several people raise questions of whether they were homegrown terrorists, of how much local support they had. But now these testimonies that have come out, the evidences that have been made public as well, it all beyond doubt makes it clear that they were Pakistani nationals.
Well, yes, it lays rest to all the claims and controversial statements given by certain quarters of the political parties, where they have doubted those who were killed, and it lays to rest the argument that they were locals or they were not responsible for Pahalgam attack. Every bit by bit detail has been given out, including their Pakistani cards, including the candy packets that were found with them when the encounter took place. Even their GPS tracking, particularly the communication devices footprint, the ballistic report of the gun, which was matched with the cartridges that were found near Pahalgam, or be it the other digital analysis of their communication Huawei phone that was recovered from their satellite phone, that was traced, but particularly at multiple locations where it was opened up for the communication. Then security forces zeroed in on those locations and they were able to nab them. So all of this case will be built up, and we believe that it will be taken further for India's case to be built up at a global level to how does really, some country get away after killing its 25 civilians. And that is something which has been disturbing, and the India was trying to collect this case. And they believe that all these reports, particularly the ballistic report, communication report, their identity cards, their chocolates that are found from Pakistan, will help build up a case at the international level where they'll be able to nail the lies and be able to actually, do the case building against them.
Right, Ishan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. But speaking of the terror activity in Jammu and Kashmir, there's an anti-terror operation that is also continuing. In fact, the operation in Kulgam has entered day 4. Exchange of fire continues between terrorists and security forces in the densely forested area. 2 terrorists so far have been eliminated. 1 has been injured as well. Unfortunately, 1 soldier has also sustained injuries. These terrorists are suspected to be part of a group of 4 to 5 more individuals. The initial investigation revealed that a killed terrorist identified as Haris Nazir Dar hailed from Rajpura in Pulwama. Earlier on Saturday, officials had confirmed the killing of these 2 terrorists. Meanwhile, some more are still at large.
The encounter between security forces and militants is going on in Akhal village of Kulgam. You can see that special operation group of the Jammu and Kashmir police is deployed at the location. They're ensuring that no one actually is allowed to go to that village where the operation has entered day 4. It's one of those operations where 4 days have passed and the operation is still underway. But this is one of the longest running operations in a while in Kashmir Valley. 2 militants have been confirmed by the police so far. By the visual side, they have been able to see any vehicle entering this place is not being allowed, and the police is ensuring that only security forces go to this area. Otherwise, this area has been cut off, for the vehicular movement. A couple of days back, this is the 4th day on the evening, there was an input that forces received about presence of these militants in a mountainous area. 1 body was initially spotted, but then police said that 1 more has been killed. So far, we haven't seen any visual, evidence of the other bodies, but the police is trying to ensure that who they believe have been killed are spotted. Drones, helicopters, and all the surveillance mechanism is being used to ensure that those militants do not escape from this mountain range behind me. The intimate exchange of gunfire is still on. It's a massive area where the search operation is going on. A lot of forces, including the para and other paramilitary forces, have been deployed here to ensure that they don't escape from this location.
Now, even as the crackdown intensifies on terror, we are seeing politics play on the sidelines as well. National Conference Supremo Farooq Abdullah has once again created controversy with his remarks that many would suggest seem like he's giving a clean sheet to Pakistan. He says terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir will never end unless situation in Pakistan betters. He says militancy will continue as far as relations between India and Pakistan are concerned. If they are not stable, then terrorism will continue. And he's not the only one. Uddhav Sena MP Sanjay Raut too stirred a political debate with his statement linking terrorism and extremist ideologies to poverty, unemployment and lack of education. He said that people turn to terrorism because they lack livelihood and good education. The BJP, meanwhile, has hit back at both Farooq Abdullah and the UBT Sena, calling them apologists for terrorists.
मिलिटेंसी ना ख़त्म हुई है ना ख़त्म होगी. जो ये समझते हैं कि मिलिटेंसी ख़त्म होगी, मैं उनको दावा देता हूँ इस वक्त कभी मिलिटेंसी यहाँ ख़त्म नहीं होगी जब तक हमारे पड़ोसी और उनके हालात बेहतर होंगे. नहीं होगी. एनकाउंटर चल रहा है सर. फिर आप कैसे कहते हैं मिलिटेंसी ख़त्म हो गई?
टेरर होता है, टेररिज्म होता है, ना ग्रीन होता है, ना भगवा होता है, ना हरा होता है, ना लाल होता है, हाँ, ना भगवा होता है. ये गलत धारणा है. कुछ लोग टेररिज्म को अपने अपने हिसाब से राजनीतिक रंग देते हैं.
एजुकेशन ही सनातन की बेड़ियां तोड़ सकता है.
क्यों नहीं? एजुकेशन तो सबको चाहिए. हिंदू को चाहिए, मुसलमानों को चाहिए, क्रिश्चियन को चाहिए, आदिवासियों को चाहिए. एजुकेशन के बिना देश और समाज आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा ना. लोग टेररिस्ट क्यों बनते हैं? उनको रोजी रोटी रोजगार नहीं है, एजुकेशन नहीं है, इसलिए तो नक्सलवाद बढ़ गया ना.
Ishan continues to be with us, getting us more perspective on this. Ishan, the kind of comments that we've seen from Farooq Abdullah, this is not the first time that he has said that relations between the two countries need to better and only then terrorism will end. Even though now we have the National Conference government in place in Jammu and Kashmir, that tune seems to be the same.
Well, yes, the National Conference has always advocated for talks, but ever since Operation Mahadev took place and sort of attack that we saw in Pahalgam. But what Farooq was referring to was that the countries, until their economic condition doesn't improve, of Pakistan, till then I can guarantee, that's what he said, quote unquote, that this terrorism will not stop in Jammu and Kashmir, and they will not stop sending them to Jammu and Kashmir. And anyone telling that the terrorism has ended, he is fooling, and there is still, the problem of all of this militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. And the problem is that the National Conference has been a firm believer, particularly the local regional political parties, that talks are a solution, and that's what we saw when last week Member Mufti was at a Foundation Day saying that the Prime Minister has a big mandate and he should resolve Kashmir, and indirectly hinting at talking with Pakistan. But the government of India has a very clear stand. The terror and talks cannot go together, and they will not be able to hold any dialogue. And dialogue would not happen on Kashmir, but it will happen on POJK, and that's where the government of India's firm stand is on. But at the same time, this has been a constant stand. We have been hearing from the National Conference, and even today, Farooq Abdullah going on and saying that the militancy will not end, but the BJP is countering the Farooq Abdullah and saying that they have broken the back of the militancy, and the government of India right now is a firm believer and firm supporter of ending militancy by using the might of forces and to ensure that the ecosystem is also broken.
Right, Ishan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Let's listen into a reaction coming in from the BJP on this politics that's brewing on the sidelines of the terror crackdown.
जनाब फारूक अब्दुल्ला का कहना है कि मिलिटेंसी टेररिज्म कभी खत्म नहीं होगी। ये वही फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब है जिन्होंने कहा 370 भी कभी खत्म नहीं होगा, चलता रहेगा, चाइना की मदद से रीइंपोज करेंगे। वैसे ये टेररिज्म के लिए इतने सारे अपॉलोजिस्ट क्यों बन जाते हैं ये इंडी अलायंस वाले या रावलपिंडी अलायंस बोले? ये अपॉलॉजी फॉर टेररिज्म ये इंडी अलायंस के चरित्र में है। इसलिए पहलगाम में भी हमने देखा कि कैसे अपॉलॉजी करते हुए पाकिस्तान को क्लीन चिट दिया, 26/11 में भी क्लीन चिट दिया और हिंदू टेरर जो है उसको गढ़ने का काम किया।
On that note, it is time for a quick break on this edition of Nation at 5, but news and updates continue on CNN News 18. Don't go anywhere.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The proceedings in the criminal defamation case against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi over the remarks made by him about the Indian Army in the context of the 2020 Galwan Valley clash with China. Now, even though interim relief was granted during the hearing, the bench made oral remarks expressing disapproval of Rahul's remarks. All right, so remember there was in fact a statement that was made by Rahul Gandhi and that was in fact a defamation case was filed against him, and now the case has reached Supreme Court where it has stayed the proceedings in the criminal defamation case against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi over the remark that he had in fact made about the Indian Army in the context of the 2020 Galwan Valley clash with China. Now, even though interim relief was granted to Rahul Gandhi during the hearing, the bench has made oral remark expressing disapproval of the remarks made by Rahul Gandhi at this point. All right, I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Ananya Bhatnagar. Ananya, take us through the observations that were made by Supreme Court on this case.
Well, definitely the Supreme Court came down heavily on Rahul Gandhi, completely criticizing the kind of statements that he made, going as far as to say that, a true Indian won't make such kind of statements. The top court also questioned Rahul Gandhi as to why, if at all he had certain doubts, why did he not ask the same question in the parliament by a proper way? You being a leader of the opposition, why would you say all these things is what the topmost of the country very well went on to say? It also said that why will you not ask these questions in the parliament was a pointed question from, in fact, the topmost of the country to, in fact, Rahul Gandhi. They said that how did you know about the 2,000 kilometers being annexed by the Chinese? If you're a true Indian, you wouldn't say that, is what the top court had to say. However, a stay has been granted on the trial court proceedings as far as this case is concerned, but there have been, in fact, a certain criticism that is coming from the topmost of the country as far as the leader of opposition is concerned.
But what about the status in the case? What about, because when we talk about the entire case, the case was taken up in the Lucknow court as well. And now when the matter has reached Supreme Court, who is the petitioner in the case? What exactly is the status as far as Rahul Gandhi's such remarks are concerned?
It is in fact a petition that has been filed by Rahul Gandhi himself, who was seeking a stay on the trial court proceedings. He has approached, in fact, the top court. The court also questioned as to why did he not raise these grounds before. In fact, the High Court, however, senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhi was appearing for Mr. Rahul Gandhi, very categorically stated that, the High Court felt that he is not the guilty, but somebody who has defamed the Indian Army personnel. And that is something, that made Rahul Gandhi approach the top four of the country. And finally, now a stay has been granted by the Supreme Court. However, much criticism coming in as far as the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha is concerned.
All right, I request you, Ananya, to please stay with us as I'm now joined by BJP leader Shehzad Poonawalla on this broadcast. Many thanks, Mr. Shehzad Poonawalla, for joining with us. Your reaction to how Supreme Court has come down heavily on Rahul Gandhi for making remarks against the army personnel.
If Rahul Gandhi has any shame left,
सकते थे वो हम लोग सभी सोच रहे थे. आप बताइए ये कहाँ रेट करोगे?
हाँ, इसको तो हाईली रेट करूंगा क्योंकि जैसे हम लोग ने फर्स्ट डे से लेके अभी तक 5th सीरीज और 5th डे मतलब जैसा फाइट किया है हम लोग ने, इट्स अनबिलीवेबल फाइट. ईच एंड एवरीवन ड्रेसिंग रूम एंड बिलीव इतना था ये ड्रेसिंग रूम में, हर किसी के ऊपर बिलीव था कि हम लोग यहाँ से कर देंगे क्योंकि यंगस्टर है, हर कोई है, मतलब हर किसी का बिलीव ऐसा था कि हम लोग यहाँ से मैच जीतेंगे. और जैसे आपने बोला हरी ब्रूक का कैच, बट लॉर्ड्स में भी अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो आउट, मतलब मेरे साथ ही क्यों ऊपर वाला है, बट मतलब ऊपर वाले ने भी कुछ अच्छा लिखा था होगा मेरे लिए, इसीलिए आज मुझे ये मुकाम पे और विकेट भी लिया लास्ट विकेट, तो बहुत ही अच्छा लगा.
कैप्टन, लास्ट जब फ्यू ओवर्स चल रहे थे सबको ऐसा लग रहा था शायद आप फील्ड जो है वो अंदर बुलाओगे ताकि सिंगल ना आए, और दूसरी चीज न्यू बॉल के बारे में आप कुछ बताओगे दैट वो अवेलेबल थी, क्या आपके जहन में चल रहा था? और सिराज भाई, जब आप कल शाम को जा रहे थे, आपसे ये सवाल है कि क्या आपको लग रहा था कि ये ऊपर वाले का ये रहम एक करम हो गया है कि कल का दिन मिल गया है, नया बॉल भी रहेगा, मौसम भी साथ दे रहा था और आज का दिन हिंदुस्तान लिखा है आज के दिन पर?
Firstly, yes, we did have the option of second new ball, but I think जिस तरीके से Siraj and Prasidh were bowling, we didn't feel like we needed the new ball. They can do the job for us even if it's a 80-over-old ball. And secondly, we thought कि we still have the wicket-taking options on this wicket. LBW bold ज़्यादा हुए हैं, वो हमारे पास ऑप्शन, अगर उनको रन बनाने हैं तो उनको बाउंड्रीज ही मारने पड़ेंगे. But rather let them have 30 singles and score those 30 runs rather than score 5-6 बाउंड्री मार के. हमको पता था कि उनके ऊपर बहुत प्रेशर है. कोई भी टीम उस पोजीशन में होती है तो हमेशा बैटिंग टीम के ऊपर ज़्यादा प्रेशर आता है क्योंकि इट्स एक बॉल का गेम है आउट करने का. तो हमको था कि हमको गेम जितना हम लंबा लेके जा सकते हैं उसमें हमारे साथ प्रोबेबिलिटी ज़्यादा रहेगी क्योंकि विकेट टेकिंग बॉल गिरने के चांसेस ज़्यादा हैं.
जैसे कल हम लोग के पास मोमेंटम आ गया था क्योंकि जैसे प्रसिद्ध ने रूट और बैतल को आउट किया था तो मोमेंटम हमारे पास था. जैसे बॉल चल रहा था कल भी तो हम लोग सोचे थे जितना हो सके कल ही लिपटा देने के लिए सोचे थे, बट ऊपर वाले ने कुछ अच्छा ही लिखा था, आज फिर बुलाया और 1.4 बिलियन पीपल, एवरीवन इज हैप्पी टू फेस, तो बहुत ही अच्छा है.
Shubman, it has been a roller coaster ride in the 6-7 months with the test team. जैसे आप लोग आए, you being the new captain, personally, how has this journey been? Given there have been so big names missing in this team, there was a lot of unsettled. That was an unsettled team. Personally, how have you grown through the series? You mentioned in Manchester that you felt as a captain it was more exhausting for you, but now looking back, how do you feel you have grown?
So I think there are moments like these where you feel the journey is worth it. The moment that we had in the morning, and there have been a lot of highs and lows, and that's kind of expected, especially with sports. And obviously, every game or every time you go into bat, you want to be able to perform. You want to be able to score a century. But unfortunately, that's not how the game or life works. You should be able to navigate through the highs and lows of life and trying to stay balanced throughout. That's what at least I believe in, that I want to be able to stay balanced whether we have won the match, lost the match, I have done well or I have not done well. It's difficult, but it's a process. That's the real journey, to be able to stay balanced, and I'm still learning, but so far so good.
Shubman, there are lots of moments in this series memorable personally and as your teammates. Like if you can pick two of them, one of yours who you think big takeaway for you, and something, a team moment which you think symbolizes this team and what the template it sets going ahead.
What we did this morning kind of summarize what this team is all about. 70 odd runs, 7 wickets in hand. The way Brook and Root were going, not many teams in the world would have given themselves a chance. But this team believes that, whenever we have some kind of an opening, we can get through that opening. And that's what we were talking about once Brook was out and then we got early wicket of Bethel, that this is our opening. Let's try to build pressure on them. One more wicket from here. And you never know, it's cricket, still 70 odd runs on day 4 on that kind of a wicket, or even 50 runs, they would be under pressure. But when you've got bowlers like him bowling, it makes your job as a captain very easy. You're just standing out there and you just want to appreciate their bowling.
Your personal moment as a batsman you grew?
So each 100 that I scored had a very different significance, if I can say. The one in Leeds was my first match. I was under a bit of pressure, not being able to perform, especially in this format, how I wanted to. So that 100 would always be special for me. And then the double 100 and the 100 in Birmingham, to be able to seal that match was also special. And the one in Manchester, to be able to save that game from there. Each of them has a story, and each of them means a lot to me, like all the moments that we have had. So it's difficult to just pick one, because it's been I think we have played there were 25 days of cricket and we have played 25 days of cricket. So just to be able to pick one moment, it's very hard.
Yeah, Shubman, just as a captain 7 weeks back, it seems like a lifetime ago, but 7 weeks back was your first test match as captain. 5 matches into that role, how do you see yourself as a captain? What are your learnings? Where do you think you stand as a captain in your own estimation?
So there are some things that me and we as a team, we definitely need to work on, and I think I kind of have more clarity on the areas that we need to work on as a team, and I have more clarity where personally I need to work on as a captain. There would always be opinions, and in hindsight could have done this, could have done that, but I think what matters for me is that in that moment, whether I'm taking I want to take the most probable decision in that moment, and as long as I'm able to do that, I think the probability would be on us, and that's what I want to do.
शुभमन, क्या लर्निंग्स रही, इसी क्वेश्चन का एक्सटेंशन है, क्या लर्निंग्स रही बतौर कप्तान आपकी इस सीरीज में? पहली बार आप कप्तानी कर रहे थे, जब हम आ रहे थे यहाँ पर तो यही बात हर तरफ हो रही थी कि इंग्लैंड जैसा महत्वपूर्ण दौरा, कठिन दौरा, और एक अनुभवी कप्तान होता तो अच्छा होता. ये बात कई एक्सपर्ट्स ने भी बैक होम इंडिया में कही थी. आपकी क्या लर्निंग्स रही बतौर बल्लेबाज? आपने सीरीज से पहले कहा था कि बेस्ट बल्लेबाज बनना चाहते हैं, आप बन गए हैं. अपनी बल्लेबाजी पर आपने क्या काम किया ये आपसे, और सिराज आपसे बीजीटी आपका उतना अच्छा नहीं गया था, क्या तैयारियां आपने ऐसी की सीरीज के लिए? इतना अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस, क्या कुछ आपने पर्दे के पीछे आप क्या करते रही है, अगर बता पाए?
अब जैसे बीजीटी की बात की है, बीजीटी में भी 20 विकेट लिया होता तो पता ही होगा. ठीक, जैसे जब जस्सी भाई ने परफॉर्मेंस कर रहे थे तो मेरा एक ही काम था, जितना हो सके मैं पार्टनरशिप में बॉलिंग करूंगा, क्योंकि मैं नहीं चाहता था कि ज़्यादा ट्राई करूं, क्योंकि जब मैं ट्राई करूंगा तो फिर रन्स लीक हो गए तो और फिर प्रेशर भी बिल्ड होगा. तो मेरा एक ही काम था कि जितना हो सके प्रेशर बिल्ड करूंगा. और रही बात इंप्रूवमेंट की, मैं हमेशा अपनी बॉलिंग पे बिलीव रखता हूँ, कि मैं खुद पे बिलीव रखता हूँ कि कोई भी सिचुएशन से मैं विकेट निकाल सकता हूँ. तो मेरा यही एक ही बिलीव है कि या मैं 8वां स्पेल डाल रहा हो या पहला स्पेल डाल रहा हो, तो मुझे ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, बट मेरा 100% देना है. वॉट एवर रिजल्ट इज कम, टेक इट.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. What started with a claim of voter theft after Maharashtra elections in November has snowballed into a full-fledged pan-India war. From SIR in Bihar to voter list rows in Karnataka and even Tamil Nadu. But in all of this, a question that begs answer is, why is no one coming forward with any proof? Congress's Maharashtra claims are already on the back burner for the party. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition, is leading the charge over alleged voter theft in Karnataka now. He has claimed there is foolproof proof with the Congress party, something that is as big as an atom bomb that they're going to drop on the EC.
But again, nothing has come forward in terms of evidence. No press conference yet, despite massive and grave charges and analogies of atom bombs. What could be more pressing than this? If there is indeed large-scale voter rigging going on, and the Election Commission of India is involved at the behest of a political party in power at the centre, what could be more important than bringing it out into the open? The country is all ears. Instead, what we have is just charges being levelled and no response even in writing to the EC. The latter is now not taking it lying down. The Election Commission is giving back to politicians on a daily basis. Look at the Tejasvi Yadav Rao, for example. Soon after the draft voter roll was released after the SIR in Bihar, he claimed his name was cut. But what came out within minutes by the EC was that Yadav had 2 IDs. The leader of opposition in Bihar now facing police action on having a fraudulent voter ID himself. So is the opposition just making political barbs at the Election Commission of India? Will they be able to furnish any proof? Is there any proof that we're talking about? That is coming up first on Plain Speak this evening. Where is the proof and who's